Good morning. I am trying the webcam video camera, whatever you call it, on my laptop for the first time. I'm not convinced by it. Maybe if I just don't go too close. I don't know. Maybe the blurry thing is kind to my wrinkles. um, this morning, well, now it's 7:15 in the morning, which is 4:15 UK time. I've been awake since 4:45, and my mind is just like, let's go. And here I am, 3 hours, 3.5 hours later, just getting going. Um, and interestingly, I've been thinking about a blog post I could write about procrastination. um, how to recognize, am I procrastinating? Am I lazy? Do I just need a rest? Am I just not in the mood? Um, or do I just need to get on with it? And I think it might be the latter. So, um, so here I am. I have my cacao, what's left of it. I have the door open, hear the birds tweeting, and I'm thinking about doing a video on my out of body experience that I had earlier this year. So maybe I'll get this out now. Um, so earlier this year, I had an out of body experience, but really, like I was doing different no, I did it right, meditative techniques, altering state of consciousness and things like this. And for like 3 hours, I think, I ended up in this out of body experience, and it was very, very real, very vivid. And this was back in, I think, March. We're now in November, and it still comes up to me every day, like in my awareness, in my thoughts, in my, you know, general beliefs and things. So what happened? I was meditating, listening to, doing breath work, listening to, I think it was a chakra activation. Why can't I speak? Maybe I can edit these bits out. I bet I can't. Um, and I have my eyes closed, and I tend to sort of go within when my eyes are closed. And it's now, after a long time of that not being a nice place to be, it's now quite a nice place to be inside here. And anyway, I was very aware that business, that my body was here. Like, I was sitting on the floor, so my body was here, like my physical body, and it was just like a lump of meat. It just felt like a heavy dead weight. But my consciousness was up here. I'm putting it up here. And they were two very separate entities, very distinctly separate. And I remember thinking, am I dead? Like, how do I know? How do I know if I'm dead? And I didn't want to open my eyes in case it broke the spell. Because I was like, I could open my eyes and look around and see. But if I'm not dead, this is really intriguing, and like I'm really curious of what's going on here. And so I didn't want to open my eyes in case it suddenly brought it, like when you wake up from a dream and you're like, oh no, close your eyes, come back, come back. And it never really does. So I kept my eyes closed anyway, and I went through all these things, and I was with a friend, and she was doing her own meditation on the other side of the room, having her own experience. And I was thinking, how do I know if I'm dead? Because I can tell that's my body. I couldn't see my body, but I could sense it. I could sense that my body was this lump of meat, basically. But me, my essence, was very much alive and active and conscious and vibrant, would be a way to describe it. Um, and I was thinking, well, if I'm dead, when she finishes what she's doing over there, she's going to find me. And that might not be very nice for her. And then my mind went to, because we were staying in a wooden cabin in Wales, maybe. And then I was thinking, what about the lady who owns like the cabin? I don't know if it was Airbnb or something like this, maybe. And I was thinking, well, what if the lady up the hill, because my eyes are closed, so I was like, what if the lady up the hill comes down in the morning to see, like, why haven't we checked out? And she finds this body. And you know what? I was completely okay with it because I was in such a state of higher consciousness. I really don't want that to sound like egotistical or anything, or like, oh, I'm enlightened. Nothing like that. But I was so separate from the physical world that I was like, well, if that's what happens, that's what happens. And I was very sure that if that was the case, and if I was dead and my friend came up on my body and this woman, had to deal with this, as traumatic as it may be, I was very, very certain that it was an essential part of their life journey. And I was completely fine with it. There was no panic of like, oh my God, it's going to like be really upsetting for them. I'm sure it will be upsetting for them, but it's fine. They will need to experience it for some reason. Um, oh, something in my eye. Can't see. Okay, we're good. Um, and so anyway, I was like, all right, well, maybe I'm dead, maybe I'm not. Let's just go and see what happens. So I was in this, like in a dream, and I really don't feel like it was just a dream, like I'd just fallen asleep, because I was very aware of what was happening around me in the physical world, like as if I was awake. Um, but I was also very separate from that. So I don't feel that I was asleep. Um, so in my consciousness, it was taking me through memories of the day and of my life. Um, and for example, I'd maybe been on Facebook or Instagram, clicking through people's stories, looking through some messages on my phone. Like I think a lot of my day had been being on my phone, to be honest. Um, in the morning, certainly. And I was going through it, and it was just like really like a flick book where you flick through the pages really quick and it shows the story. It was kind of like that. And I just remember thinking, God, I've spent like, is this all I'm going to see? It's just like pictures of other people's stories and social media. That's a bit of a waste. Um, and and then so that went on for a while, and I was like, oh, this is quite boring in terms of like how I'm actually spending my time, or how I spent my time if this was pre-death. And then it took me, I say it, I don't really know what it is, but this experience took my awareness to places that I used to go when I was younger, or just like throughout my life. And for those of you who are local to Liverpool or familiar with like Norris Green area, the Showcase Cinema on the East Lancs. So we were driving, like I was driving along in my awareness, going past the Showcase. I was like, oh, it's the Showcase. To myself, I was like, oh my God, it's the Showcase. Um, how funny, didn't do anything, didn't mean anything, just like there's a showcase. And then I was in the back garden of one of the boys in the year below me in primary school, in his back garden. Um, I don't think there was really anybody else there. I just remember thinking, oh, I'm in so and so's back garden. And then I was somewhere else that I can't actually remember just now. And then it happened again. And like it was like I was going past the showcase. And I was like, oh, it's a showcase. Then when I realised I was in this garden, I was like, oh my God, I'm in so and so's garden. And then I was in this other place. I was like, oh, and then I was back going past the showcase again. I was like, oh God, I'm going past the showcase again. Maybe I'll get to like, maybe it'll develop into something, um, more interesting or meaningful. No, back to the garden. Same, back. Showcase garden, other place, showcase garden, other place. And I was like, and so it went from being in the beginning quite like, oh my God, this is fun. I fancy being here. I wonder why I'm here. To like, oh, I wonder if it's going to become something more relevant and more meaningful. Oh, okay, we're still moving, no time. And I remember I kept saying out loud, so at this point, I think I knew that I wasn't dead. I remember saying, hold on a minute, I'm going around in circles here because literally my awareness was taking me around in circles from this place to this. I don't know why the showcase cinema, I don't know why it's back garden. I don't know. Um, Maybe they were just points of reference, not sure. And I remember saying, like, hold on a minute, hold on, wait there, I'm going around it because my friend was talking. I was like, wait there, I'm going around in circles here. Because in my consciousness, I was literally going around in circles and getting nothing done, getting no understanding of anything. There was no progression of anything. There was nothing. And so it went from being like quite quirky and quite fun and oh, I can't believe this is happening to quite like confusing and bewildering to very quickly becoming very scary because in that moment I suddenly thought, oh my God, what if this never ends? What if I am stuck in this loop of insignificance for the rest of my my life, but I didn't feel like it was for the rest of my life because my life was separate. My life was the physical body that was like the piece of meat on the floor. Um, my existence was this consciousness, this essence up here. And I was thinking, even without that physical body, my consciousness, my essence is just going round and round in circles. And it was becoming like a living hell or an existing hell. I don't know if living is the right word. And it became quite frightening then because I was thinking, oh my God, what if this never stops? Because there was no end in sight, there was no change. It didn't develop in any way. It was the same every time we went around. And I was thinking, like, oh shit, like this is like some kind of purgatory was the only way I could describe it. And I was thinking, what if this never ends? Um, and then after that, that cycle did end. I feel like it kind of gave me the message that I needed to get from it was that we can just keep going around in circles here and nothing will change, and that in itself is like a kind of hell. And then it changed to like different locations, like I think it felt like kind of like I've spent quite a lot of time in the Middle East this last year, but I felt that I was in Egypt, which I've never visited Egypt, but that was just where I sensed that I was. But I don't know exactly why. And I was seeing like very like emerald green clothing, and like emblems, like sort of gold, almost like chakra signs is the only thing that I can kind of relate it to describe it, like or like geometric patterns that were like expanding, and there was a definite sense of a religion. It wasn't clear what religion, and I was really curious as to what that was trying to show me. But then something in the real world kind of knocked me out of this experience and brought me back. And since then, so I came away from it being like, whoa, what just happened? What was that? But it was incredible. And one of the biggest takeaways was, or one of the biggest questions from it that I have is, so if I exist very, very clearly and separately to my physical body, because there is no doubt, and there was no doubt in that moment that even if I was dead, I existed. Me, my essence, my spirit, my soul, whatever you want to call it, whatever resonates with you, was very much in existence and there was no end to it. So I came away from it thinking, so why do I have the physical body? Why have I been given this physical vessel for this consciousness to exist in? And I've asked different people about it just to get different people's opinions. Why do you think we've been given this body? Why do you think we have it? And one person made an analogy like it's kind of like having a mobile phone and a SIM card. And the mobile phone is the physical body. The SIM card is the essence, the soul, whatever. You can't do anything with the SIM card unless you've got a phone to put it in. So you can't do anything really with your consciousness without some sort of physical container to transport it in. And I was like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But I also felt like this body, so this was me up here. This is, I've been loaned this. Like when you go and rent a car, you just kind of get given, okay, you might request a particular style or size or something, but imagine that wasn't part of the process and you just go along, okay, here's your car, off you go and drive over to that country and do whatever you need to do. Next person, here's your car, okay, you need to go over that way. Next person, here's your car, you need to go. You just get given what you're given and you have to make the best of it. And you might get given a 4-wheel drive, which means that you can tackle terrains that somebody in like a little, I don't know, scooter or something, maybe it will struggle to. But equally, the person on the scooter can nip in and out of places quite fast, quite busy places, whereas the person in the big car might not be able to so well. So I feel like we've each been given our physical body and all of its abilities or strengths or maybe weaknesses because our soul has been put in this one. So we have been given this rental car because it matches what our purpose is. So I'm good at certain things, not so good at plenty of other things, and that's okay. So I need to play to my strengths because that's why I've been given them. Even things like I feel like I've been given I have my vision. I can see. I have. So many things, and it's one of the reasons why I stopped shaving my head. Well, it kind of made more sense. So I stopped shaving my head in January, and I had this out of body experience in the March, like I said, the end of March. And up to that point, I was like, well, I'm not growing my hair, I'm just not cutting it. And then after this, I was like, no, I'm growing it because I was given it. Um, and that might sound really like ridiculous, but I just feel like it would be like if we go back to the rental car analogy, changing, putting, I don't know, changing the color, like spraying it a different color to what it was given to you. You don't need to do that. It was given to you exactly as it needs to be for what you need to do. So I had that, and then in June, I had an accident in the desert here in Jordan where I was kicked in the face by a horse and broke all the bones here. So I had to have an operation to have a metal plate put in here and screws put in here and stuff. And in the 4 days between when it happened and when I went to the hospital, I had a lot of time to think. A lot of shock was, going through my body and was being processed, which took a long time, longer than the 4 days. But during that time, I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't know at this point that I'd broken anything. Um, but I was very aware that I had a real brush with mortality there, a real brush with death. Like, it kicked me here. If it had kicked me just a little bit higher, a little bit whatever, I could have lost my vision. I could have lost my life. Very, very realistically, it could have killed me very easily. And I came away miraculously unscathed, considering what happened. Yes, it was very bad, but I was also very, very lucky. And so I remember talking to somebody at the camp in the desert about it, and just still trying to like process what has happened to me, what is happening. And I was like, I should have, or not should have, but I really could have died there. And I feel like I was protected or saved or not harmed as badly as I ought to have been. I feel like I was protected in that way for a reason, because otherwise I would have died. And so I feel like my soul, my consciousness, that thing that was up here in my right hand, um, still has work to do. And the fact that in the out of body experience, I was just going round and round and round and round in circles. I can keep going round and round in circles in my real life for the rest of my life, keep doing the same things, keep making the same choices, keep seeing the same places, with the same people. Not that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but there is so much more out there. And I feel like it is my responsibility to use this physical body, to use this rental car to maximize what it's capable of, so that my soul, my essence up here, can experience as much as it is destined to experience, because that's why I've been given this body, to allow it to do those things, whatever those things may be. So I have two choices. Somebody very close to me keeps saying, okay, we have two choices, because decision making isn't our strong point. So I have two choices. I can continue going to the showcase, going to the garden, going to this other place that I can't remember, round and round and round every single day for the rest of my life, for the rest of eternity. And it will be like hell, ultimately. And it doesn't need to be like big profound changes that I need to make in my life, but it can literally be like, well, how am I going to spend my day? Is every day going to look like every other day, or am I going to try something new? Maybe, talk to somebody I've never spoken to before, watch a TV program I've never seen before that I've been curious about, read a book that I've never read before, listen to a person who maybe I disagree with at first glance, consider their opinions, open my mind. Will I visit another place that I've never been to before? Will I sign up to a course to learn a new skill or to develop a talent that I already have? So it can be little, will I change my diet to a healthier one? Will I make better choices each day to serve my body in a better way? Because I've been loaned this body, and it's my responsibility to take care of it as best as I can until it gets given back. So I either continue making the same choices and going around in the same circle on a day-to-day basis, and then you can, of course, broaden that into, what am I doing with my life? We go from day to day to life and everything in between. Okay. I forgot now where I was going with this. So I can do that. So that's my first choice. I can keep doing the same thing, or I can make decisions. Okay. Because, oh yeah, that's it. I remember now. If my soul, so I didn't die that day in the desert when the horse kicked me, because I feel that my soul still has work to do. Now, if I keep doing those same things that I've always done, then my soul isn't getting the chance to do the things that it's destined to do while it's here, while I'm here in this physical body. And what a waste. So if I take the fact that I didn't die as a sign that I have more to do. Because if I had done everything, or not everything necessarily, but if I had really maxed out my potential in many, many ways, maybe I would have died. I don't know. But I didn't. I'm still here. I had that profound experience, that out of body experience that very clearly told me if you don't do things differently, you're going to be caught in this horrible, horrible, incessant cycle of boredom, of unimaginable, no, unimaginable is the wrong word, but like of no imagination is what I'm trying to say. It's something that just like dulls your imagination, dulls your potential, really dims your light. Um, and it was such a terrifying feeling when my consciousness recognized that back in March, and then when I had this kind of brush with death in June, it reiterated it very clearly that do more things that you haven't done yet, because that's why you're still here. So hope you found that interesting, or maybe you didn't, but I'd love to hear what you think, and if anybody has had a similar experience or any insights that they might like to share. Yeah, please let me know, because I'd be really interested to hear. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.